Okay, so let's take a look at what we have here with this composite figure. Now in this one we're asked to find both the surface area and the volume. I'm going to do one at a time. I'm going to start by doing the surface area. And what we have a picture of is a cylinder, like a pop can, with a scoop, a half of a sphere or a hemisphere cut out of the top of it. So when we talk about surface area, we want anything on the outside that's showing. So we can't use the regular formulas for surface area that we would use for a cylinder, and because notice we don't have the top here. This is open. This is a hole. Okay, so instead we're going to have to take it a piece at a time. So for this cylinder, notice part of our area will be the sides here. Remember, that's called the lateral area. Okay, so for our cylinder, we're going to want the lateral area, which hopefully you've written down the formulas for those in your notes. The lateral area of a cylinder is 2 times pi times the radius times the height. We're going to add to that this base, this one circular base. So we want the area of that circle. The area of a circle is pi times radius squared. Okay, so that would give me the sides and the bottom. Now for the top portion where it's that scoop, we need to cover the inside of that scoop, and it is half of a sphere. So then for the sphere portion, we're only doing half of that, so we're going to take the formula for the surface area of a sphere, 4 pi times radius squared, and we're going to multiply it by 1/2 when we're done, because we only have half of one. Okay, so here is all the tools that we need. Let's go ahead and get to work and find each one. So let's find this first portion. Okay, so the sides, again, is going to be this lateral area. It's 2 times pi times our radius of 5 times the height of the cylinder, which is 7. I'm just going to leave the pi alone, so I'm going to have 2 times 5 times 7 is 70 pi. Okay, and that's in square feet. Okay, so that gives me my sides. Now let's find the bottom. Again, it's just a circle, and its formula for the area of a circle is pi times radius squared. That would give me pi times, my radius is 5 squared, and 5 squared, 5 times 5 is 25. So far I have the sides, I have the bottom. Now let's find the top. Again, the top is that sphere, but it's only half of a sphere. So we're going to take 1/2 times our 4 pi times radius squared. Okay. Again, the half is because we only have half of a sphere there. So that gives me 1/2 times 4 times pi times my radius was 5 squared. 1/2 times 4 is just 2. 5 times 5 there for my squared is 25, and 2 times 5 is 50 pi. So here the sides is 70 pi, the bottom is 25 pi, and the top is 50 pi. So the total for my composite figure is going to be 70 pi plus 25 pi plus 50 pi. Just add the numbers together. And my answer is 145 pi. And that would be in square feet. Okay, let's take a look at what would the volume be. So we took care of surface area, check. Let's find the volume of this composite figure. So sometimes we take two composite figures, we add them together. But in this case, notice this half sphere is cut out of the cylinder. It's scooped out. So instead what we're going to do is find the volume of the cylinder. And we're going to subtract from that 1/2 of a sphere, because that's all we have cut out of it is half of a sphere, not an entire sphere. Okay, so let's find the volume for our cylinder. Well, hopefully in your notes you have the formula for the volume of a cylinder. It's pi times radius squared times the height. So for this cylinder we would have pi times our radius is 5 squared times the height of the cylinder is 7. 5 times 5, our 5 squared is 25. And then 25 times 7 is 175. I'm just going to leave the pi there. It's just easier to work with if we don't multiply it out right now. Okay, so there's the volume of my cylinder, 175 pi. That would be in feet cubed. Now let's find the volume for half of a sphere. Well, the formula for the volume of a sphere is 4/3 times pi times the radius to the third power. Again, that's something you should have in your notes. But we just want half of a sphere, so I'm also going to multiply that by 1/2. Okay, 4 times 1 gives me 4. 2 times 3 on the bottom gives me 6. And that can reduce, but I'm just going to leave it for now. Let's go ahead and put our radius in there. So we have 4/6 pi times our radius was 5 to the third power. 5 to the third power means 5 times 5 times 5, and that gives us 125. And finally, we want to calculate 4/6 times 125. Again, to calculate that, I'll write it up here, what you would put 4 times 125 and then divided by the bottom of your fraction, 6. Okay, when we do that, we get 83 1/3, or 83.3 pi. So what's the volume of our composite figure? Remember, we were supposed to take the cylinder, which was 175 pi, minus half of the sphere, which half of the sphere we found to be 83 1/3 pi, or 83.3 if you prefer decimals. So we just subtract 175 minus 83 gives us 91 2/3, or 91.7. And that would be in pi. Pi and then volume feet cubed.